Click the like, subscribe and the notification bell. It helps the Talisman to keep theatre alive.
Oh, I'm so glad you're in this one. God, it's so long since we had. Oh, and what do you think of this? That's lovely party. Oh, yes. Oh, quite so. Darling, you must share a chat.
Hello, everyone.
Oh, Courtney. Hello, Courtney. Hello.
All quiet in the studio, ladies and gentlemen. On air in 5, 4, 3, 2.
Good morning, Dr. Watson.
Good morning, Mrs. Boyde. Lovely morning.
How are you and Mr. Holmes enjoying your holiday?
Very much, thank you. Holmes needed a break after solving a particularly difficult case. The Grange over Sands Lido murders.
I heard about it. Horrible business.
It was indeed. So a break in this delightful village of Penley Green is very welcome.
Just what the doctor ordered, you might say.
You're very jovial this morning, Watson.
Holmes, good morning. I was just saying to Mrs. Boyde how welcome this short break is from the arduous life in Baker Street.
We have fresh kippers for your breakfast, gentlemen.
Splendid.
Alice will bring them presently.
There must be a funeral in the village, Holmes.
An astonishing deduction, Watson.
There's no need for sarcasm. Impressive sound, isn't it?
I suppose so. Has it ever occurred to you, Watson, the significance of a peal of bells?
Well, I can't say I've ever given it much thought.
Through the annals of history, every momentous event has been accompanied by the sound of bells. They summon soldiers to arms as well as Christians to church. And many a bloody chapter in English history has been rung in and out by bells.
Well, you seem to be a mine of information on the subject.
Yes, Watson, it is fascinating.
Your breakfast, gentlemen.
Splendid, thank you, Alice. Oh, Alice, the church bell was tolling a funeral knell. Do you know who's being buried?
That I do, sir. And if the good Lord has anything to do with it, it'll be my turn soon.
I wonder what made her say that.
I have no idea.
Perhaps a parent or close relative has died. Or a young man. Yes, I'll wager that's it. She's obviously been crying when she came in. Perhaps that's her fiancé they're burying now.
Watson, you have the sentimental imagination of the true storyteller. But we have come here for a holiday. You must give your imagination a rest too. Now drink your tea and eat your breakfast.
How are you liking your kippers, gentlemen?
Excellent, Mrs. Boyde, excellent. Never tasted better.
I heartily agree. By the way, Mrs. Boyde, we heard the funeral bell tolling earlier. Do you know who was being buried?
Yes, I do. 2 poor souls.
2?
Yes. And one of them was a murderer.
A murderer? Good Lord, in this peaceful village?
What happened, Mrs. Boyde?
Old Ben Calthrop, him who had the farm up on Conifer Lane, found out his wife had been gallivanting around with a young fellow from Torquay. Cut her throat, he did, and then hanged himself in the cow shed. More tea?
Thank you.
How shocking. So, this peaceful corner of Devon is not as peaceful as it's made out to be, Holmes.
Something that I have frequently had occasion to point out to you, Watson. Has the Morning Post arrived yet, Mrs. Boyde?
I think I see Collie now.
Collie?
Jim Coleraine, the postman. I'll see if he's got anything for you.
A murder? What do you make of it, Holmes?
What is there to make of it, Watson? A jealous husband murders a faithless wife and then commits suicide. A tragic story, but a simple one.
Top of the morning to you, gentlemen.
Good morning, Mr. Coleraine.
Oh, no need to be formal, sir. Collie's what folks call me in the village.
Very well. Are there any letters for me today?
Aye, Mr. Holmes. 2 letters. One of them is quite chunky. Got some newspaper clippings in it, I wouldn't wonder. And you've got a postcard from an Inspector Lestrade. He wants you to call in on him when you're back in London. Something must be up. And there you are.
Do you mean to say you've been reading Mr. Holmes's private correspondence?
If I didn't have the odd peek at other people's correspondences, how would I know what's going on in the village?
There's a law about that sort of thing.
Your deduction was right, Coleraine. It is newspaper clippings. And, by the way, you heard about the murder of Mrs. Calthrop, I suppose.
Heard about it? I told the bell this morning for the start of the joint funeral.
You're the bell ringer as well as the postman.
I am that, sir. President of the Choral Society too, as well as being on the parish council.
You're a busy man, Coleraine.
Very busy, sir. Take this afternoon now. I shall be ringing those church bells again.
Not another funeral, surely?
No, sir. A wedding this time.
Oh, I'm glad to hear it.
Young John Walters is marrying the Slater girl, and as you might say, I'm responsible for bringing them together. Got some of their letters mixed up, I did. They looked each other up to exchange them, and presto, before you know what's happening, they're getting married. Regular Cupid, you might say I am.
Be off with you, Collie. Other people want their letters. Mr. Holmes doesn't want his breakfast getting cold, listening to you and your chatter.
Just passing the time of day, Mrs. Misery Guts.
Out!
One of these fine days, that crabby face of yours will break out into a smile, and the world will come to an end. Good day, gentlemen.
Talkative busybody he is. Mr. Holmes, I have another letter for you. This one was delivered by hand.
Really?
Mr. Holmes didn't want it known he was staying here. He's after a well-earned rest.
It's difficult to keep things quiet in a village this size. Most folks know what's going on.
Who delivered it?
The butler from the Marriott estate.
That large house we can see on the hill?
That's the one. Marriott Hall.
Thank you, Mrs. Boyde.
Yes, Mr. Holmes.
Who's it from?
Lady Isobel Marriott. She wishes me to call on her at my convenience.
Why bother to see her, Holmes? It'll be another trivial matter the landed gentry revel in. Probably lost a brooch and wants England's finest detective to find it.
I think not. Her letter states it is a personal and highly delicate matter. She wishes my help with. The handwriting is inconsistent, which shows it was written in an agitated manner. I believe the matter to be anything but trivial. Come along, Watson. I can taste adventure in the air.
I'd rather taste my kippers.
Mr. Holmes, I'm so grateful to you for coming. I hope it wasn't too much of an imposition.
Not at all, your ladyship. This is my good friend and colleague, Dr. Watson.
Good morning.
Good morning, your ladyship.
I understand you have a matter of some urgency to discuss.
Yes, it is a very private matter.
Whatever you tell me will be treated with the utmost discretion, and I speak also for Dr. Watson.
I know your reputation, Mr. Holmes, and I trust you implicitly.
I take it you need my help concerning a member of your family.
Yes, that is right. But how did you know?
It's quite
that?
simple. A hand-delivered letter by your no doubt trusted family retainer, the absence of any other member of your family on our arrival, only the butler on duty from what I can see.
You are quite correct, sir. I am at my wit's end.
There, don't distress yourself. Mr. Holmes will do everything in his power to assist you.
Thank you, Mr. Watson.
Tell me, what is it that is troubling you?
My husband passed away 2 years ago. I have no other relatives except my son Edmund.
And it is he of whom you wish to speak?
Yes, Edmund. Edmund has always been devoted to me and his late father. A model pupil at school, he excelled in his studies and gained a place at Oxford, where he studied law. Everything was in readiness for him to take over as head of the family and the estate. But after my husband died, the duties seemed to weigh heavy on his shoulders. His mood was changeable, as though something was bothering him. There were occasions when he would go off on his own, sometimes for 2 or 3 days at a time.
Did he know people in the village? Was he friendly with any of the locals?
I really have no idea. If it was, he never mentioned them. His close friends were those he made at Oxford. Occasionally they would come to visit, all from very good families. Then, about 3 weeks ago, he left one morning without a word, and that is the last anyone has seen of him.
He left no note?
No, I am frantic with worry. What if he has been kidnapped or attacked and left for dead to die in a ditch somewhere?
Pray, do not jump to conclusions. We need to assess all the facts. You have not received any communication from outside sources?
No. I have contacted all his friends, and they have not seen or heard from him.
Are any of his possessions missing? Any clothes?
No. I made a search of his room. Everything seemed to be as it should be.
Something must have caused him to leave so abruptly. Don't you think so, Holmes?
Something or someone. Lady Isobel, you said of your son's room everything was as it should be?
Yes. Everything was in its place.
But I believe you found something that was out of place. Something you wanted no one else to know about. Hence this private meeting, away from the prying eyes and ears of your servants.
You are quite right, Mr. Holmes. I found this note buried under some clothes in a drawer.
I know what you've done. This will bring shame and ruin on your family. There's no way back. You're done for.
It's awful. Awful. What can it mean? What could Edmund have done that was so terrible? And who could have sent him that note?
That is for me to find out.
Then you will help me. I'll pay anything you ask. Just get my son back. I beg you, Mr. Holmes.
I will do whatever I can, Lady Isobel. Stay in your home until you hear from me. Say nothing of this meeting or of this note.
Thank you, Mr. Holmes. I'll have my butler show you both out.
Poor Lady Isobel. But I don't see how you can help her, Holmes.
Nor do I, at the moment. But a young man who has grown up with all the privileges and entitlements bestowed on him could possibly be leading another life that his mother is totally unaware of, but the author of that poison pen letter is. You said that you have to work on one of your stories today, Watson?
Yes, I received a letter from the editor of the Strand magazine yesterday requesting a manuscript as soon as possible.
Splendid. Then you must go back to the hotel and work on your latest masterpiece while I scour the village to see if there are any connections with that young man. I will join you for dinner.
There you are, Holmes. I was beginning to think you'd got lost.
Hello, Watson. I trust you had a profitable session with pen and paper?
I completed about half a chapter. I would have done more if it hadn't been for those infernal bells disturbing my concentration.
The wedding ceremony Coleraine spoke about this morning.
Did you find out anything about the missing son?
Perhaps. I had an interesting conversation with the local baker. He is, of course, up early in the mornings and on quite a few occasions has noticed, just before dawn, the coming and going of a young man at the cottage opposite his shop.
One of the village lads making illicit calls on a young lady, I shouldn't wonder.
The baker didn't recognise him, so I deduce he is either from out of town or
it was Edmund Marriott.
Sharp as ever, Watson. And who lives opposite the bakery? None other than the young lady who served your kippers this morning.
Alice. Did you talk to her?
No, she doesn't seem to be here.
Mrs. Boyde?
Yes? Dr. Watson?
Is Alice in the kitchen?
Oh, she's gone off home again. Says she's not feeling well. Such an unreliable girl. I have to do double the work.
I hear in the village that the funeral bell will be tolling again tomorrow. Does Penley Green have a burial every morning? I really don't see how the population can run to it.
It's another suicide, sir.
Another suicide? Good Lord.
Oh, Bernard Evans. Used to run the ironmongery. Got himself into debt. You see, he was expecting some money from his son in Australia and it never came and they foreclosed on his shop. He went and swallowed a glass of arsenic. Will you be wanting a couple of boiled eggs for tomorrow's breakfast, gentlemen?
I think I may have lost my appetite.
As you please.
That woman seems absolutely heartless. She almost smacks her lips when recalling these dreadful tragedies.
So I have observed. This peaceful village is beginning to seem strangely sinister to me. And since you have no appetite for breakfast, perhaps you'll join me in a little excursion first thing in the morning.
Of course. Where are we going?
To see the maid, Alice. I'm anxious to talk to her before another funeral bell begins to toll.
This must be the cottage right opposite the bakery.
Yes, and there is Alice at the door. Good morning, Alice. I'm sorry you're not feeling well.
Mr. Holmes, Dr. Watson, why on earth would the health of a serving girl matter to gentlemen like you?
We are not here just because of our concern for your health.
Then why did you come, sir?
We are investigating the disappearance of a young man.
Young man? Why would that have anything to do with me?
The young man in question is Edmund Marriott.
We think you might be able to help us. We know a young man has been visiting you.
Oh, Mr. Holmes, I don't know what to do.
Calm yourself, my dear.
Why don't you tell us everything?
It's true. It was Edmund who's been calling, but nothing that wasn't proper. We've known each other nearly a year. There was a dinner at the hall and an extra help was needed. That's where we met. Edmund wanted to see me again, but I knew it would be no good. A man of his high-born status could never be with the likes of me. But he found out where I lived and one evening came calling. We started seeing each other secretly. He was kind and gentle and didn't care that I was from the working class. Very quickly we fell madly in love.
And all this without the knowledge of his mother?
Yes. He said we had to find the right time to tell her so as not to cause a family scandal. But that time never came.
When did you last see Edmund?
Oh, that's what's worrying me so. He said he had to go away and would write. But that was 3 weeks ago and I've not had any word from him since.
No contact of any kind? Not even a letter?
Nothing.
The postman is coming down the road now. Maybe there is something. Call it, Rain. Do you have anything for this young lady?
No, sorry.
Oh, there must be, Collie, there must be.
No, lass. Morning, Mr. Holmes, Dr. Watson. There's a letter at the hotel for you, Doctor, from a lady, I believe.
How do you know it's from a lady?
Reeked with the smell of violets, with delicate writing in green ink on grey paper, sir.
Amazing deduction.
That sounds like your young friend from the Gaiety Theatre, Watson.
How do you know about
I'll
that?
tell you later. Coleraine, you tolled another funeral bell today, did you not?
Aye, sir, and a tragic thing it was. Bernard Evans killed himself because he didn't get money from his son in Australia. I was the one that found him. And right in me post bag were the letter that he were waiting for. The letter that would have saved his life.
Great Scott, what a ghastly piece of irony.
That it were, sir, that it were. Well, gentlemen, I'll be on my way. Good day. Good day, Alice. Maybe tomorrow we'll bring a letter for you.
No, I'll never hear from Edmund now.
Alice, you may not have received a letter, but you do know of another note, I think.
I don't know what you mean, Mr. Holmes.
I think you do. I think Edmund told you about it, and that is his reason for disappearing.
If you know anything, you must tell us, Alice. Mr. Holmes is only trying to help.
Edmund swore me to secrecy. He said he was going to find out who sent that poisonous note and deal with it in his own way.
When he left, did he give any clues to his destination?
Nothing. He didn't want me to know, so if for any reason I was asked, I wouldn't have to lie. All he said was, Braze knows how to deal with this, but I don't know who this Braze is.
I believe I do, Alice. I can see parts of this puzzle are starting to fall into place. Watson, I shall be taking a train journey as soon as possible.
Oh, where to, may I ask?
Oxford, in search of this young lady's intended.
What makes you think Edmund might be in Oxford, Mr. Holmes?
Because Braze is not a person. I believe your young man was referring to Brasenose, an Oxford college where Edmund no doubt studied law, and where I expect a number of his friends are. I surmise he has gone there to ask for their assistance in uncovering and dealing with the author of that note. If he had known that the greatest detective in England was in the vicinity, it could have saved him a journey.
Modest as ever, I see. But what about the note? Do you know who sent it?
I do indeed. But first, we need to find the new Lord Marriott. Watson, I will send a telegram when I have been successful and meet you back here at Alice's cottage, hopefully within a few days.
Dr. Watson?
Oh, Mrs. Boyde, you startled me.
You out for a morning walk? And no Mr. Holmes with you? Still away, is he?
Yes,
Has he been called in on another case?
I'm afraid I'm not at liberty to say.
Oh, pardon me for asking. I just called at Alice's cottage. No sign of the wretched girl again. Lazy good for nothing. I'm ready to give her her marching orders.
I'm sure the poor girl must have a good reason for not attending work.
Bone idle, that's the reason. Good day, Dr. Watson.
Holmes' telegram said he was on the 12:43 train, so a 10-minute walk from the station should have him here any
Hello, Watson.
minute.
My trip was a success.
Is this the elusive young man?
It is indeed. Permit me to introduce you to Lord Edmund Marriott. Edmund, this is Dr. Watson.
How do you do, sir?
I'm in good health, your lordship, but I'm afraid your young lady is at her wit's end.
I so want to see Alice again.
And after this reunion, Edmund, I suggest that you both go over and see your mother.
Yes, Mr. Holmes, I'll do that. I'm determined she will not stand in the way of my happiness. Now, I must see Alice. She She must be out. The door is locked.
Have you seen her, Watson?
Not since you left. After I received your telegram, I came down here and arrived a few minutes ago.
Great heavens! That was a revolver shot!
Come on, Edmund! Help me break in the door!
Alice!
Do not alarm yourself. There are no wounds. I believe she has just fainted.
Alice, darling, it's all right. I'm here.
Oh, Edmund, you did come back for me. I thought you never would. I wanted to end it all, but my hand was shaking so
Where did
much.
you get that gun?
It was my father's. After he died, I just left it with all his other things.
There, Alice. Everything's going to be all right.
And now, Edmund, I think the time has come to reassure Alice that you did write to her.
Of course I did, Alice, darling. At least 3 times since I left. And I wrote to Mother too.
Then why didn't I get the letters?
The answer to that should be obvious. Coleraine, the postman, deliberately withheld from you and from Lady Isobel.
Collie?
Great heavens, why?
I have my suspicions, strong suspicions, but I need proof. Tell me, Alice, a few days ago, Mr. Calthrop murdered his wife. Do you know how he learned of her infidelity?
Well, I'm not sure, but I did hear Mrs. Boyde say it was through some letters that got mixed up. The letters addressed to her were delivered to his place of work instead of the house.
Collie again.
Precisely. And Bernard Evans took his own life because a letter from his son had not arrived.
Another tragic incident involving the post.
And because your letters to Alice never arrived, another death could have blighted the village. The whole terrible pattern of events begins to take shape. Edmund?
Yes, Mr. Holmes.
I'm going to lay a trap. To spring it, I shall need your assistance.
Of course, Mr. Holmes. I'll do anything.
Wait here with Alice, and under cover of darkness, make your way back to the hall. Wait there, and let no one see you until you hear from me. You understand, Edmund?
Yes, Mr. Holmes.
Good. Come on, Watson.
What's your plan, Holmes?
I'll tell you as we go. One thing I can promise you. Before tomorrow is through, I shall have freed this village from one of the most subtly evil powers I've ever come in contact with. The game's afoot!
Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning, Mrs. Boyde.
I always said that Alice was a no-good girl. And now she's killed herself. And I've got to find a new maid. Of course, I only thought it right I should pay my respects and attend her funeral.
That's very charitable, Mrs. Boyde, I must say.
Well, I'll be getting to my place in the church.
Holmes, this farce is beginning to get on my nerves. What are we accomplishing by burying an empty coffin?
You'll soon see, old chap. Come on, let's slip into the vestry. This way.
Where are we going, Holmes?
Up the stairs that lead to the belfry. Here they are.
Supposing Coleraine turns nasty when he finds out we know his secret.
Then we must handle him to the best of our ability. Watson, I have also contacted the local constabulary who will be waiting.
Well, I must say I do not relish the thought of a tussle high in the belfry of a church. The man must be insane.
Obviously. That's why he has to be stopped. Keep your wits about you, Watson. Good morning, Coleraine.
Mr. Holmes, Dr. Watson, you've come to see me at work. That's nice of you. Not often I get company up here.
That is not why we are here, Coleraine. We know only too well what your diabolical work really entails.
What do you mean?
You are mad with power. You've tried to control the destiny of this village. In your position as postman, you believed you had the power to alter life and to take it.
So the mighty detective has uncovered my plan. Oh, I do have power, and it's a great power. I can alter people's destiny. I can affect the outcome of lives and fortunes. My power is almost godlike.
That's sacrilege, you scoundrel. You were responsible for the murder of Mrs. Calthrop.
That I was. And for the old man hanging himself.
You were also responsible for Bernard Evans' suicide.
Evans tried to vote me off the village council. I swore I'd make him pay for it. And I did.
And young Edmund and Alice?
I saw them together early one morning. He was carrying on with her and she were well below his station. The note to him soon put a stop to that.
That girl was distraught.
And she took her own life. The only way out.
Your reign is over, Coleraine. You'll never toll a bell again.
You can't touch me, Mr. Holmes. You've got no proof. There's nothing you can do.
Don't be too sure. I have enough influence to take your job away.
You? You should take me away from my bells. I live for these bells. They're mine, and you'll never take them from me.
The only bell you'll hear will be a prison bell as you walk to the gallows.
You're trying to destroy me.
You are already destroyed, Coleraine.
Yes, you've already failed. Alice is alive.
Alive? But the coffin they're burying down
It's
there.
full of stones. You'll be the laughing stock of the village.
No, they'll never laugh at Collie.
He's climbing the ladder leading to the bell tower.
Come back, Coleraine, come back.
He's mad as a hatter. How are we going to get him down?
There's only one way. He's in a tiny loft containing his beloved bells. We'll see how much he loves them at close quarters.
Stop! Stop ringing those bells!
Not until you come down, Coleraine.
Stop ringing them! I can't stand it! You'll make me mad!
You are mad, Coleraine. Mad with power. Come down.
Never!
There's no way out.
There's my way out, Mr. Holmes. Ah!
Great heavens! He hurled himself out of the belfry. Holmes, he hasn't a chance of surviving that fall.
I had no intention of causing the death of that deluded man, Watson. Though I can't help but feel that his poor, demented mind may find a happier oblivion this way, rather than in the confines of an asylum.
Yes, you're probably right, Holmes.
It's been a shocking case, Watson. Shocking. And once again, it proves the old saying, the schemer falls into the pit which he digs for another.